have a few more hours before this is all wrapped up, and quite frankly, we're going to be dealing with a lot of these impacts for days, potentially for the next week. So we are far from being done from battling this winter weather. Right now, we have temperatures out there in the teens to low 20s, so it's already frigid outside. Feels like temperatures are even colder because of the wind. I'm looking at single digits for the feels like temperatures. And you'll notice that our radar is pulling up potentially some sort of mix, maybe some blue indicating snow. But remember, the radar can't exactly tell what kind of precipitation it is. It's taking its best guess based on what those surface temperatures are. So in reality, we can use some other tools to try to determine what type of frozen precipitation that we're actually seeing. And when you start to see some of these lighter pinks, especially a little bit further south there, in fact, now we're looking towards the Petersburg area. And in fact, some of these lighter pinks are even climbing a little bit further north towards Metro Richmond, up towards Mechanicsville. These lighter pink colors are indicative of the likelihood of some of that freezing rain. And for some folks further south towards Dinwiddie, we've been actually dealing with the potential for some of these lighter pinks, again, indicating the freezing rain for about the last 1 to 2 hours, which would say, hey, possibly we're already seeing some ice accumulation. We're also getting some reports as you head further north up towards Louisa even, which is way up towards northwest of Metro Richmond, that we're also getting reports from folks there that we're transitioning from that sleet, from the snow, from the ice pellets into a freezing rain. In fact, we got reports of freezing mist in Louisa just less than 30 minutes ago. So that means that the ice accumulation is going to be happening over the next couple of hours as all of us join that party of dealing with the freezing rain. Looking out there in Short Pop, a couple of camera views for you there. Snow across all of the roadways. Already we're dealing with some of the effects there of the accumulation snow. There's a snow plow. Shout out to them out there. The crew's working hard to try to clear the roads. The reality is, even when the roads may look clear, we could still be dealing with that thin layer of ice as we go into the coming days. So we're really advising people not to get out on the roads anytime soon. Stay home today, stay home tomorrow. Temperatures out there in the city at 19 degrees, winds coming out of the north at 9 miles per hour. You can see that snow and sleet combo accumulated across the metro area. Again, here at the station, we had about 2.5 inches, about 2 to 2.5 inches. We recorded that. Here's those feels like temperatures that I was talking about. 11 degrees in Petersburg, 9 degrees in Richmond, 7 degrees in Ashland, 2 degrees in Louisa, and 6 in Crewe. The blue ones are the ones you got to dress for. That's what it feels like if you walk outside. If you have to go outdoors for any reason, I get it. I have a dog too. Make sure you are bundling up, no exposed skin, and take care of your pets as well. This can be bad for their paws. So if you got to take your dog out, wipe their paws afterwards. Make sure they're staying warm as well. Unfortunately, once we switch over to that freezing rain, once all of us join in, we're going to be dealing with that for pretty much the rest of your Sunday. We may catch a couple of breaks here and there, or sometimes when the intensity reduces and we're dealing with more of a drizzle. But it turns out freezing drizzle or freezing mist can actually accumulate ice more quickly than freezing rain. So we really want to avoid that at all costs. The good news is this may wrap up a little bit earlier than originally anticipated. Here's Monday at midnight, and we only have a couple little showers left over. Maybe even some rain showers for some folks along the coast. That'll definitely have an impact on the accumulation that you've gathered so far. And going into Monday, we're not going to be talking about any more precipitation, but we are going to be talking about those cold temperatures that are going to be hanging around, which is going to prolong the effects of the ice that we get. So for today, we're going to stick to the 20s all day at best and deal with the freezing rain all the way through 5 p.m. Then we get to this evening, and we'll finally start to see things taper off between around 8 p.m. and midnight. But we're still expecting to see some sort of frozen precipitation there, likely the freezing rain continuing all night. In terms of how much ice we can see, we're still sticking to around ½ an inch of accumulation. We could see isolated locations with a little bit more than that, maybe 6/10 of an inch. That's definitely possible, especially as you look further south. Those folks I was saying who've already been seeing the freezing rain for quite a bit today, you could see some of those higher totals. If you head towards the metro area, we're looking at maybe ½ an inch. Crewe ½ an inch, Farmville maybe a little more than ¼ an inch there up towards Louisa, again where we're already getting word of that transition to the freezing rain, maybe ½ an inch to about 4/10 there. And we start to get that much ice, we start to see the problems with the potential for power outages, along with potential damage from branches breaking and falling off because of the weight of the ice on the trees. So for Richmond, we're looking at close to that significant to destructive line. Ashland in that significant range. Petersburg right on the line there. Really, we're looking at the potential for significant impacts from the ice accumulation, even if it's only a quarter of an inch to half an inch of ice. So we're still expecting to see some major issues for the coming days. And I also wanted to touch on what we have to look forward to, or to not look forward to. We're going to be looking at temperatures below freezing every day this week, except for tomorrow. And by the way, tomorrow's high temperature is supposed to occur very early in the morning before the sun is up. So we're not expecting to get any help in the way of melting all the way through this week. We could be dealing with ice and snow on the ground all through the end of the week. Also note that on Tuesday morning, we're expecting to see our coldest temperatures that we've seen in about 6 years. Actual air temperatures are going to drop overnight Monday down into the single digits. And with the wind chill, we could easily be talking about feels-like temperatures on Tuesday morning in the negatives. So if you don't have work tomorrow, but you have to go back to work on Tuesday, for instance, we need to take extreme caution, not only just in driving, but also in making sure we're staying warm. Both Tuesday and Wednesday morning, we're going to be in those single digits. VIPIR alert day in place for today, as well as tomorrow, as we're dealing with the impacts of this storm. Again, we really don't want to see people out on the roads anytime soon, because we are just going to be dealing with these after effects for a long time. And speaking of, we have meteorologist Madison Holmes here in studio as well. Madison, I know you've been looking around for some potential problems out on the roadways. Are you seeing anything right now?
I'm currently not tracking any major issues. We see a lot of yellow on the board, which indicates speeds are very, very slow if we have to be out on the roads. It is not recommended to be out in these conditions, even though we haven't started to really see that freezing rain just yet today across much of central Virginia, except for those folks maybe down south where we've started to see that transition. It's still not going to be safe. We've seen that sleet compacting down on our roadways and on top of the snow that we already received overnight. So yes, we're seeing a lot of yellow and a lot of red. So if folks are out on the roads, please drive slowly and please drive carefully, as it is going to be slick. Specifically for us here in Metro Richmond, we're seeing very similar conditions, lots of yellow and red, but thankfully no crashes, which hopefully means if folks are out on the roadways, we're not going to be driving recklessly, but rather carefully. Our road conditions right now, rather snowy. We're starting to see a few transition into ice closer to those coastal communities out in the peninsulas there, but lots and lots of snow with little hints of ice mixed in. And that's because of that snowfall that we received during those overnight hours into this morning. And then we had that transition into sleet. So with all of that on those roadways, we're not seeing too much clearing. This is near I-64 and Pouncey Tract Road, and we can see there aren't too many folks out there. Not too long ago, I did see a very slow moving line of cars, but they are taking precautions to say move over to the lanes and away from our shoulders as we're seeing more and more accumulations progress throughout the day today. This is I-64 and at I-295, excuse me, and our roadways are just covered, and you can tell maybe it was cleared briefly when that snowfall started yesterday, but we're still seeing plenty of accumulations on the road. And once that freezing rain begins, that is going to become slick. It is going to be icy out there on top of the precipitation and accumulation that we've already seen. And with that being said, we're not going to warm like Jessica said. So our current road temperatures still well below freezing in the teens across central Virginia. 19 degrees in Richmond, 15 degrees in Louisa, 17 degrees in Crew at our surfaces on those roadways. So that's not only what we're feeling in the air, but that is what our surfaces feel like outside, and that's not aiding in melting any of this precipitation. At I-295 and Cold Harbor Road, still covered with that snow and sleet that we saw from this morning. It is just not going to be safe to drive out there by any means. Please stay indoors, even if you're closer to the downtown region. I do see a few folks, and someone's even walking outside. That's a better option than driving on those roadways. Still is going to be slick even when we're walking outdoors. And I am seeing a few cars at I-95 and 7th Street when they are moving slowly, which is what we need to be doing. But again, if you can stay home, please do so. And if you must leave, please drive carefully as you're heading out the door. Just a few more traffic cameras to take a look at for this morning as we're heading into those afternoon hours, awaiting that transition from sleet to freezing rain. The Storm Tracker 8 team and myself will continue to have updates as the storm progresses.